All right, goalers, thanks for joining me for this part 2 on how to ski in the early season.
I'm Rene-Martin. I'm the ski touring instructor for GOLH.tv.
So you've toured around a lot and you've evaluated the risk while going up. Now you have to take the decision if it's safe to go down or not based on your information. Like we've been saying from the start, if in doubt, just go back down, still walking with your skins on. You could even remove your skis and walk down if it's appropriate.
All right. So when you remove the skins and you decide to go down, you have to realize that at every turn, you're gonna dig deeper into the snowpack. So every turn is a risk. To mitigate that risk, I will try to avoid turning where there's humps or bumps, and most probably aim for even surfaces.
Other obstacles that are very common are obviously creeks and fallen trees. So for those obstacles, sometimes you will see them and they're clearly out of the snow. Sometimes you can see one end but not the other one. Sometimes they're all buried but you only see some branches sticking out. This is one of the dangers that I pay really close attention to, and that if you're not concentrated, you could get injured on. In the Alpine, you can often see some sharp rocks that will be just buried under the surface of the snow. Your evaluation while climbing is going to be super important on those kind of slopes.
So here's a hot spot and I was able to avoid it. Here's my track going around and I walked back up just to show you guys. And a hot spot is a hole in the snowpack created by the ground that's not frozen. And these can last the whole winter, but they tend to just get collapsed and most of the time they will go away in the winter. If they don't collapse and get buried, these could be really dangerous hazards as you get like 2 meters of snowpack and that big hole right here. So it's good knowledge to know where these are. If there's one here, there's probably more around as well. All right, so when I ski down, I'll try to stay as light as possible on my skis. I'll avoid any jump or any pushing down hard on my skis as I turn. Always stay centered on your skis. Avoid leaning backward unless there's an obvious obstacle that you need to go over.
A good way to stay light on your skis is to have nice, round, even turns.
If the conditions make it hard to turn, you can change strategy. You could change your turn size, your speed. You could change also the terrain, so the angle of the slope, the elevation where you're skiing on the mountain, if it's forested versus alpine, to find just better turns maybe in that other spot.
If the conditions are really bad and then you're stuck, you can always adopt the strategy of one turn, one stop.
Last thing is speed is your friend, as you're gonna float more on top of the powder. But too much speed might be a problem. If you hit something or you fall, a consequence will be bigger, obviously.
In most situations, I'll try and avoid skiing over other people's track or close by, because they might have been able to avoid obstacles, but now maybe in their same tracks, I'll go deeper into the snowpack and hit that same obstacle. That's a general rule. Sometimes the snow density allows me to ski just anywhere and it could be fine, but at least in the start, I'll be careful and not ski in their tracks. Now, knowing how to ski and where the dangers are is challenging, but it can be done. You just need the knowledge. And this is where GOLH.tv comes in. It offers courses for the great outdoors, including mine, on backcountry skiing. If you're an outdoor enthusiast looking to learn efficiently, then GOLH.tv is the place to be. Put simply, you'll become proficient in less time. You'll get all the structured information you need right on your device so you can learn and develop your skills at your own pace, like no other platforms out there. Click the link in the description to get started with my full backcountry skiing course. Now let's talk about the conditions to avoid.
As I tour along, I will always keep in mind that I have to turn back at one point. And certain situation will make me turn back right away. These could be signs of avalanches, unstable snow, obviously. Also, open creeks or a hot spot that are hard to identify, or if there's just too many. If the snowpack is variable in height or quality. And last thing is if there's obstacles that are just buried and I cannot identify them, and I feel that I cannot be sure on where to ski to be safe. In the same kind of idea, in certain conditions, I will avoid coming into the mountains altogether. So these conditions could be very dry snow. So very dry snow is really fun to ski in the season, but in the early season, it's got no support and it's really easy for you to hit obstacles that you cannot see. Another one is storm days. I will not come into the mountain the day of a storm. Early season conditions are hard enough like that. If you add the storm, low visibility, maybe rain at the bottom, it's just a mess. I will avoid storm days. I will avoid warm, sunny days. So any temperature that's above zero, I will try to avoid getting into the mountains. The snowpack will be really affected by the sun, but also by the warm temperature. It will settle the snowpack a lot more. It will change the conditions rapidly, and I don't want to be in the mountain when this happens. If the temperature gets really cold for 3-4 days, it will really affect a thin snowpack and probably create a weak layer. So I will avoid those periods of like a really cold period in the early season. Pro tip. So the second snowstorm is where I see a lot of the accident happen. So maybe the first snowstorm that we could ski, it was awesome. People had a blast. And then maybe 1 week later, a second snowstorm comes in. People will tend to pay less attention to obstacles, to dangers. The snowpack will have evolved. So be really careful on that second snowstorm to keep your expectation low and still be in that exploration mode with no clear objective for the day. If the skiing is there, take it. If it's not, just tour around and have fun. It's all about the journey.
You might have noticed, but this video was actually shot in a series of different days. And so I went 3 times in the beginning of the season, and some of the times I couldn't ski the slopes I wanted.
Early season.
Some of the times were really good. So it varies a lot. Remember that the early season is like a new season every time you go back. You never take anything for granted. Still there? You deserve a thumbs up. Why don't you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our future videos. This is Rene-Martin. Thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers.